The year was 1888. Thunder rattled the small cottage, rain lashed against the window panes. Inside, a lone candle flickered, casting dancing shadows on the faces of a family huddled around a makeshift table. They were whispering, their voices tight with fear. A shadow passed outside. It moved against the storm, growing larger, darker. At the table's head sat Jedediah, his weathered face creased with worry. His calloused hand gripped a worn, leather-bound book. Across from him, his wife, Martha, cradled their newborn son, her eyes wide with terror. The wind howled outside, a mournful, almost human cry. Jedediah began to read, his voice a low murmur in the storm. The air grew cold, the candle sputtered. An unnatural silence descended upon the room, broken only by Jedediah's voice. Suddenly the wind outside shrieked. The candle went out, plunging the room into darkness. Martha gasped, clutching her son close. When the storm subsided and dawn broke, Jedediah was gone, vanished. The book lay open on the table, its pages ruffled by an unseen force. On the child's forehead, a small crimson mark appeared, a mark as dark and ominous as the events of that night. The curse had begun. Elias, Jedediah, and Martha's son grew up under a cloud. The whispers followed him, branding him with the events of that stormy night. His mother, her hair prematurely white, refused to speak of his father, her eyes filled with a haunting sadness. Elias, a quiet, solitary child, found solace in music. One lullaby, a haunting melody his mother would hum, held a strange power over him. It calmed him, soothed his unspoken fears, but as he grew older, the lullaby began to change. The gentle melody became laced with whispers, the words shifting, twisting into something dark and menacing. One night, as he lay in bed, the familiar tune drifted from the floor below. His mother's voice, choked with terror, sang the lullaby, but the words were wrong, twisted into a grotesque parody. He rushed downstairs to find his mother, eyes wide with fear, rocking an empty chair, the lullaby flowing from her lips, chilling and evil. That night, Elias understood. The curse was real, and he, the firstborn son, was not immune. Years passed, and Elias, haunted by the lullaby and his father's disappearance, vowed to break the curse. He married, had a daughter, Grace, a bright and cheerful girl, her laughter a stark contrast to the somber atmosphere of their home. But the curse, like a venomous vine, had already begun to snake its way into her life. Grace, a curious child, would often find herself drawn to the attic. It was there, amidst the dust-laden trunks and forgotten relics, that she first encountered it. A crimson stain, shaped like a handprint, adorned the attic floor. It pulsed faintly as though alive, and a low, guttural whisper seemed to emanate from it. One night, while exploring the attic, the crimson stain began to spread. It flowed across the floor, taking the shape of a man, tall and gaunt, his hand outstretched, a look of pure malice etched upon his spectral face. Grace, paralyzed with fear, could only watch as the apparition opened its mouth, and the same lullaby her grandmother sang, now twisted and full of rage, filled the air. The curse had claimed another victim. The old house stood on the hill, a brooding sentinel against the passage of time. Inside, Michael, Grace's grandson, sifted through the remnants of his family's past. He had inherited the house, a place steeped in whispers and shadows, a place he vaguely remembered from his childhood visits to his grandmother, a woman forever shrouded in a veil of fear and sadness. He found it tucked away in a dusty trunk, bound in cracked leather, its pages brittle with age. A diary, his grandmother's diary. As he opened it, a musty odor wafted up, the scent of time and forgotten secrets. The first entry, dated decades ago, sent a shiver down his spine. It spoke of the curse, the entity, the lullaby that haunted their lineage. Each page he turned, unveiled another layer of the horrifying truth, each word etched with his grandmother's terror. The diary became a window into his family's tormented past, a chronicle of their desperate struggle against an unseen enemy. Michael felt a growing sense of dread creep up his spine. He was not just reading about the curse, he was living it. Section 5, Whispers from the Past. Night after night, Michael found himself drawn back to the diary, each page pulling him deeper into the abyss of his family's past. He read of Silas, a man consumed by greed and envy, who had met a gruesome end on the very land where the house now stood. His spirit, unable to find peace, remained tethered to the land, his rage festering, transforming into a malevolent entity. His vengeance, the diary revealed, was not random. It was targeted, a curse passed down through generations, claiming the firstborn son of each generation, feeding on their fear, their despair. The lullaby, once a harmless tune, had become Silas's tool, a siren's call to lure his victims deeper into the darkness. Michael learned of the entity's power, its ability to manipulate, to torment, to drive its victims to the brink of madness. He read of his ancestors' futile attempts to break the curse, their efforts only serving to fuel the entity's rage. As he delved further into the diary, Michael realized with chilling certainty that he, the last remaining descendant, was next in line. The price of knowledge. Michael realizes the entity feeds on the family's fear. The diary became both a blessing and a curse. While it unveiled the truth, it also awakened a terror Michael had never known. The house, once a place of mourning, transformed into a battleground. Every creak of the floorboard, every whisper of the wind, seemed to echo the entity's presence. He understood now. The entity thrived on fear, drawing strength from their terror, growing stronger with each generation's despair. His ancestors' attempts to fight, to resist, had only fueled the entity, their fear a feast upon which it gorged. Michael knew he couldn't fight the entity head on. He had to change the rules. He had to starve the beast, to deny it the fear it craved. But how could he fight against an enemy that thrived on his very terror? The weight of his lineage, the burden of their fear, threatened to crush him. A desperate attempt. He tries to break the curse, seeking redemption for his ancestors. Armed with the knowledge gleaned from the diary, Michael embarked on a desperate quest to break the curse. He delved into ancient texts, consulted with occultists and paranormal experts, seeking a way to sever the entity's hold on his family. He learned of rituals, of wards, of ancient incantations designed to banish malevolent spirits. He meticulously followed each instruction, his every action fueled by a potent mix of fear and determination. He would not let his family's legacy end in darkness. He owed it to them, to his ancestors who had suffered for generations, to break free from this nightmare. Days turned into weeks, his hope flickering like a candle in the wind. He poured all his energy, his very essence, into the rituals. He felt a glimmer of hope, a sense that he was chipping away at the entity's hold, but he had underestimated the entity's power, its deep-rooted connection to his family, and the price of their fear. The entity's grip. Despite his efforts, Michael experiences the curse's full wrath. As Michael edged closer to breaking the curse, the entity unleashed its full fury. The house became a crucible, the air thick with malice. The walls seemed to breathe, the shadows writhed, and the temperature plummeted. The lullaby, once a distant echo, now reverberated through the halls, each note laced with venomous intent. The entity, sensing its impending doom, targeted Michael's sanity, preying on his deepest fears, exploiting his every vulnerability. The faces of his ancestors, twisted in eternal torment, appeared in his dreams, their pleas for help morphing into guttural screams of despair. He felt himself slipping, the darkness closing in, the entity's laughter echoing in his ears. Was this the price of defiance? To be broken, driven to madness? Another sacrifice to the entity's insatiable hunger? Just when he thought all hope was lost, a glimmer of clarity pierced through the fog of fear. An unending nightmare. The story ends leaving the reader to wonder if the curse persists. The diary. It held the key, not in its words, but in its existence. The entity fed on fear, on the legacy of terror passed down through generations. What if that legacy was erased? Michael, his mind teetering on the precipice of madness, made a choice. He gathered the diary, every last vestige of his family's past, every photograph, every heirloom that held their memory. He set them ablaze. The fire roared, consuming the past, the flames licking at his outstretched hands. The entity shrieked, its form flickering, its power waning as the flames devoured the remnants of its reign. When the last ember died, silence descended upon the house, a heavy, unsettling silence. Michael was gone. Had he escaped the curse, or had the entity, weakened but not defeated, dragged him into the abyss? The house remained a silent sentinel against the passage of time, its secrets buried beneath the ashes of a family's haunted legacy. The curse, it seemed, had a life of its own, waiting patiently for the next chapter to unfold.